Sorry, guys, I'm letting down all of our fans.
It's okay. I'll bring it in the proper way in the editing process.
Oh, yum.
But hey, we're here again.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. It's been a minute since you've done a podcast.
Yes, it has. Hello.
Probably since the Thought Room.
Yes.
Eh?
The Thought Room.
So that was...
And we've never done a podcast together, right? Okay, I got my buttons.
Yeah, buttons are
Buttons are
good.
there.
But yeah, what year was that? 2000 and...
It was
Before Odin, so...
2017? 2016?
Something like that, yeah.
Probably. So 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
2016, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was somewhere right before you moved out to Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember watching your podcast and being like, this is actually
I
pretty chill.
I remember that podcast that just me and you did together, and I was talking about moving to Colorado.
Yes.
And then it happened. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we never podcasted again.
Nope.
So, but here we are, back at the Jay and Kaskian podcast now.
We're just going to keep rebranding until, we hit it.
Till
until it sets and
till
everyone's
something
like,
sets
oh,
in,
yeah,
yeah.
those people. I know those people.
Yeah, my name is Nora, by the way.
Oh, yeah, Nora.
I don't do introductions. Don't think about it.
That's okay. That's all right. But
Yeah, Nora's here. Nora's here to drop some Nora knowledge.
yeah, she's got tons of knowledge about a lot of good things,
Aw.
Experience
Super-
and perspective, yo.
Super smart.
Exactly the kind of stuff we want on podcast.
Yeah.
And our new branding.
Yeah.
Branding.
But yeah.
So, where would we
Switch it.
start? Where do we start? What do we do? How do we speak? I don't know. You guys want to talk about emotions? We could talk about emotions.
We could talk about emotions. How do you start talking about emotions?
We start at a thread. I mean,
Well,
what's the biggest thing that's popping up in your reality right now? Because I can talk about mine, but both of you have so much heavy, real stuff hitting you that most of the time, this is a good little flavor point. I feel like my problems are so inconsequential, and my frequent comment when people ask how I am is just nothing worth complaining about, because I see so many of the people that I care about having like serious, real issues. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily change my issues, but for some reason it makes me put them all on the back burner. It's like everybody else's stuff obviously has more weight and I want to help with them.
Yeah.
I think it might be an avoidant pattern I have to dealing with my own shit.
Yeah, you're invalidating yourself.
I know. I'm consciously invalidating myself, which is almost like 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing it just unconsciously.
Oh, we can talk a
what do
little
you
bit.
do?
We can talk a little bit about the teal work that we did.
That would be a really good thing that you might be interested in too.
So me and him.
It started because you actively wanted to heal,
Yeah.
and I just had been ignoring.
So I don't know if I told you, but I paid for an actual session with one of Teal Swan's
trained completion process people.
trained completion process therapy people,
Yeah, how'd it go?
and I have done 3 sessions with them.
3?
Yeah. Ooh. Wowza.
After he did the first one,
Wowza.
I
Amazing.
also I went for the exact same lady. She's I don't know, I shouldn't drop any name, but she's like a wonderful grandmotherly
names are
kind
fine.
of figure. And the whole process, like the completion stuff, it actually really works when you're being walked through it. Like I tried it so many times with myself and I never really got there. But I mean, in my experience, I actually had to pick up, like, it's weird how you get there. You go through like an hour of meditation before you even get to this like weird place where you're doing these things in your subconscious mind. But I went into a dark place where fractured parts of my subconscious were, and I found a dead one of me, like a 9-year-old dead version of me, and it was fucking horrible to see. I was like, how? And she like directed me on like what to do, because I don't think she was expecting me to find someone that was dead, like a dead version of me. But she instructed me, and this is all happening in like a vivid imagination meditation kind of state. I had to like essentially burn that body in the cosmos, and then she told me to walk into the fire. And as I did so, it was like the burned essence of this traumatized child version of myself like went up back into the universe. But when I stepped into the fire, it was like the tiny shard like was able to resettle and like start growing in me again. And I can feel that consciously, like it's back in me.
Reintegration.
Which is really sort of like in Avatar Legend of Korra,
Yes.
how Brava, the light spirit, is seemingly destroyed, but the light and the dark spirit, they both have within themselves the other. So neither can ever be completely destroyed. And it was like that thing. It was like, this is gone. I can't get this back. And it's like, oh wait, the tiniest sliver of it still lives inside of me. And I can like, it can grow. I can heal this.
Yeah, you just have to be willing to go into the place you are afraid to go.
Very, very bizarre.
Yeah. My experience was just as profound. A lot of crying, a lot of like realizing, my own like cycles and patterns and like emotional patterns that I've been cycling through literally since I was a kid. Like bringing you to the realization of like I've been going through these same emotions in this like cycle pattern like over and over, and then having these same things happen to me like and it was amazing. It starts out like you said with a meditation, and you basically create like a safe place for you to go.
Mine was fucking dope.
Yeah, mine was pretty cool too.
And it just kind of like forms in your brain without you having any control, and you're like, what?
And now it's like burned in my brain.
Yeah.
That is a place that I have
I
to go to.
I've still got
know.
versions of myself like running around in that place that they're just not ready to like merge back in. But
Yeah.
I mean, they're safer there than where I found them.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. You feel like you're fucking crazy as you're like going through your past memories and being like, oh, there's a traumatized me. Come here, little guy. And there's a traumatized me. All right, I'm running back to my safe place with all these little half-dead version children of me. And now I'm going to put them in a safe place, and they're just going to live here?
Yeah.
Why does this feel better? It's weird.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I don't know. Have you ever done any of that like completion process stuff?
I have the book.
Yeah.
Have I gotten very far into it? No.
No.
Do I have a lot of resistance to it? Yes.
Yeah, that was the same thing for me. It was
Yeah.
like, I know what you're saying is totally like on point, Teal, but also, how dare you make me do stuff? I'm not gonna get a notebook out. Whatever, fuck you. I don't want to actually heal.
Right.
I can't even pick up the book. I'll go to pick it up and I'm just like, I can't do this right now. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't, because I know I'm gonna like deep dive into shit, and I know like there's so
See,
much
that's
work
why-
for me to do.
That's why the thing is like, after my grandma dying and my mom dying and like all the other shit that's happened and the literal like just insane wounds that were like torn open in me, that like I watched myself turn into literally the worst version of myself that I possibly could be. And I was just like, oh shit, I got some fucked up shit. I need to deal with this. I need to deal with this now, because if I don't deal with this now, like this shit's gonna come back again. Like if I just blow off, like all of these things happen and run away from it, and I just like numb myself out or distract myself or do anything, like I can't. I don't think I could go through that another time again in my life. Like I don't think I could, because seeing how seeing the way that how you've been interacting in the world, presents situations that become extremely painful. Like it's this like bolt of lightning to awakening to your own fucked upness, and I couldn't take it anymore. I was like no, like I'm going in, I'm doing this emotional work now, because if I don't do it now, like I'm gonna end up in a place that I never want to go. I'm gonna end up in a place that I never want to go.
Yeah, which is what happened to me, and I ended up an inpatient.
Yeah.
There were a couple points in time as Jordan was going through his stuff that he was like, I need to go like to the hospital. I need to go talk to a professional or something. And I was like in the space that you're in, you wouldn't be able to gain anything from that. And I think I even had to explain to you what would happen, because I've got some experience. I mean, you've got more, but
Thanks.
I told him it was supposed to be a nice thing. It wasn't supposed to. Sorry, but I had to explain to him like what would actually happen. You'd wake up the next day and you'd be like, "Oh my God, why did I do this to myself?" Because
Get me the fuck out of here.
yeah, because they don't let you leave. Like it's kind of reminiscent of like medieval ways of handling people who had mental health issues. It's like, oh, you're unhealthy in the head. You must be like possessed by a witch. We'll put you in a cell with no sunlight and no people, and we'll
no
just
bathroom door, and here's some medication.
and we'll just keep you out of the public so that you don't affect anyone else. Instead of being like, oh my God, you just need a fucking hug. Like, it's so easy when you come down to it, but for some reason our society is like, you know what we should do to this person that needs help? We should hit them with stuff. We should electrocute them, and we should drug them out of their minds so that they can't even comprehend that we're doing this stuff. I bet that'll probably help. You know, power of Jesus or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really fucked up right now with COVID. They don't let like visitors. They don't let like people bring anything. Like you can't have any of your own things. Nothing.
That's like the worst thing they can do to people too, because the main reason that people like survive and get better is because they've got support networks coming to them, telling them like, yo, I love the shit out of you. And then they're like, oh, people love the shit out of me. And then their body starts responding. And they're like, okay, then we're going to get better.
Yeah, inpatient during COVID is hell.
Yeah,
but
no, I got to that point where I was like, you know, obviously big shit is coming up for me, and a lot of it was like, it's almost, Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot, about like when you see an aspect of your life and how, when things fall apart, how like the hardest pill to swallow in that zone is recognizing that there is something that you could have done about it. You know, that you weren't aware enough. You weren't paying attention to your own actions. You were, you know, living unconsciously, and
you weren't taking responsibility.
You weren't taking responsibility for the things, you know, that contribute to the situation that you're in. And I almost feel like I hit this point where I was like, oh God, like I have so much responsibility in these situations that I've brought myself into that I couldn't like process it all. I couldn't process it all at one time, because I was like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like, Teals talks about this a lot too, about how it's like, it's a human need to feel like you're a good person, right? And if you get to a point where you're like, oh fuck, I just hurt people. Like I literally just hurt people, and I fuck myself over, and I fuck other people over, and I can't, like, you feel like
pain.
You feel like I'm a burden to this world. I'm a burden to myself. I'm a burden to other people. Like how do I cope with this amount of like guilt? It's like you almost get to a point where you feel like you're irredeemable. Like there's no way that I can go and like fix anything. Like it's this consistent thing that I've been doing for so long in my life, and you hit the moment where, well, okay, some people never hit the moment and they just keep fucking up, and then their life spirals into
that's a trauma response too, because I mean I'm sure that at least one person who hears this is going to so intensely vibe with what you just said and feel that same sort of thing. And something that we don't all get told is like, you matter, your perspective matters, and like all of the shit that you have done that you feel guilty about, good. Like if you feel guilty about it, that means you're morally aware of yourself and how you want to be better. So right there, you're like a divine fucking being just trying to figure out how to better represent that divinity on this planet. And it's like all of this guilt and everything can crush you into just being like, nope, never gonna look at that. Never gonna look at that. But the only way to face it is like turning into it and really just being like, this is me right now, and that's okay.
Yeah, and
I'm not gonna be this way forever.
And perspective, because it's so very true, especially like things that have to deal with relationships or family or friends or whatever, and if there's falling outs or problems or deaths in the family, like the part that I think helps the most is understanding like you did the best you could in the moment. Like you were living with limited information, and if you could have done this before this bad thing happened, and and I could have seen my mom again before she died, or I could whatever, I could have gone back and changed something. Like you have to forgive yourself.
Absolutely.
Because
how are you ever going to move forward?
How are you ever going to move forward if you don't?
That's the first step of being like,
yeah,
I majorly fucked up.
But what does that look like? What does actually forgiving yourself look
Ooh, I said it before. Say it again. I like her.
Yeah. I think that looks like
a lot of tears.
A lot of that. But the shadow work was a big part of it for me, because for me it was recognizing that I was living in these subconscious patterns that used to be protecting me when I was younger.
Yes.
They were like when I was a kid, I had a lot of issues because I constantly was like thrown around in different schools. My parents split up when I was young. I went to 11 different schools before I went to high school.
That's a lot.
Before high school. And so for me, I was never able to get close to people. Like I would make a friend and they'd be torn away from me, but for the next grade or half a year later. So I always had to keep people like at this distance, at this arm's distance away from me. So there was this like part of me that started developing that was really afraid to get close to people because they were gonna leave, So I've always had this like keep this arm's length between you and people, even if you really care about them. And and a part of, I guess, forgiving yourself in that process is like, hey, like this part of you was useful and necessary at one point in time in your life. You were going through really hard things and you were never taught otherwise. Like you've been running on this subconscious pattern and train since then. And all it's been doing is like building up and snowballing and doing the same thing. But now, universally, you get hit with like all of these traumatic experiences, and it's like it all hits you at once, and it's a super, one big dark like, the explosion of like chaos and craziness. But if you're willing and you're able to self-reflect and you're able to look at yourself, you can use those really deep, painful moments, and you can say, like, what is here? Like, what am I seeing? And you can turn inside and say, this is not happening to me. Like, these bad things that have happened didn't happen to me. They happened for me. They happened in order to teach me something. Mm-hmm. Because this is the breaking of a cycle now. This is where it stops. This is where I no longer need to be that defensive person. This is where I no longer need to be that afraid of intimacy person or holding people further away than I should and isolating myself because I'm afraid of closeness. Like it those really hard things that happen to you in your life, like they're there to expose a portion of yourself to you.
Contrast.
It's contrast, and it's really up to you what you do with it.
Yeah, I love inner child work because when you look at it like a child, like you said,
mm-hmm.
you wouldn't like go to little child Jordan who's put up these defenses and hate him
mm-hmm.
or look down on him for doing what he needed to do to get by and survive and cope with reality.
Mm-hmm.
You would hug that child.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what the shadow work was. That was the shadow work was. Yes. Mine was I think the deepest one for me was like a 5 or 7 year old who, like, my parents had split up and I was going between my dad's and my mom's house, and at my mom's house I had all of this like family and friends and stuff, and when I would go over to my dad's house, I would get put in this bed like upstairs in my grandparents' house, and it was like dark and my dad was in the other room to sleep, and I would lay there like terrified. I would be super scared of like being in that bed and in the dark alone. And I didn't have anybody that I could talk to or reach out to. Like none of my family that I was used to being around was there. And I remember just being so scared and terrified, being that little kid. And doing this shadow work stuff, like I didn't know that's where, like I had tried to do the completion stuff on my own, but having somebody guide me through it was so much better, because I had been looking for that kid. I had been looking for like where was that? Because trying to do it myself and not being coached through it, I've never been able to find it. Like for me, it was always like, I know like my childhood was fucked up, but like where were these points that I can remember really being terrified and really developing all of these like toxic behaviors? You know,
the roots.
Yeah, the roots of all of the things that I've been projecting into my life. And doing the shadow work, I was able to find that kid. Mm-hmm. I was able to find that and be like, hey, like, I'm here for you now. You don't need to be afraid. Like, it's okay. Like, you'll be all right. You're not alone, I promise. And I like started with him, and then I worked up like through the years, and I found all of the other ones. I found like a 15-year-old me, that was super angsty about girls and like terrified. And I built up this like kind of, I don't know, like a toxic behavior of like meanness, I guess, and like almost objectification of women to stay further away because I was scared of them, you know? And like I found that 15-year-old me, and I was like, I remember sitting in my room when I was, 14, 15 years old, listening to Simple Plan, literally listening to Simple Plan and just being the most like sad over like a girl not liking me that I liked, or just being absolutely destroyed, like emotionally destroyed, and feeling so worthless and so like, man, I have nothing, that other people want. I have nothing that other people want. And, everybody just always rejects me. And I remember being that kid, and it was like it was just like this epiphany moment of like, man, this cycle has been going on my entire life. It's been going on my entire fucking life, and I never saw it. And until I did, the completion process stuff, and I was like, damn, wow. Like it's the greatest pain brings the greatest change. That is for sure. So
more Avatar quotes. When you're at your lowest point, you're open to the greatest change.
Yeah, exactly. But it was nuts. I like going through. I remember going through this tunnel, and all of the like younger versions of myself that were hurt, like all the way up through the timeline. Like I remember just like walking through as this like really powerful and strong masculine being, saying like, I'm powerful, I'm strong, like I can create the future that I want, like I deserve to create the future that I want, and I can do it, and I'm going to do it. And just like reassuring all of them, like, hey, you guys, you're not alone, because I'm not going to abandon you anymore. I'm not going to leave you sitting on the fucking side of the street anymore. Like, I'm going to be there for you, because I have that knowledge now. And I just brought all of them, into the safe place. And I like just watched all of them almost like holograms or ghosts, just integrate into me, like into one, full, complete being.
That's awesome.
And it was the craziest shit I've ever gone through. But man, I tell you, people that ignore emotional stuff, people that ignore the emotional side of life, that just, if they're just like purely in the material, like, if I have my shit straight, on this material level, and I'm doing these things, like, oh, no problem, happiness in life, like, I got it. Like, you are so fucking wrong. I'm sorry.
Well, okay.
It's so important.
I think everybody has their own path in regards to that. Because do you know how badly I wish I was like that? Like,
sometimes I feel that.
Like, yeah, maybe well,
I'm just saying,
like grass is always greener.
I'm just saying, like, okay, it's typical of dudes, like anybody who is in any masculine zone, right? To shy away from emotionality.
Yes.
Right. To like it makes you feel vulnerable and weak, and like you're not allowed to be in that space. That's more so what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the dudes, you know, who are like in shitty relationships and using women for sex and doing all this crazy stuff. And every time someone tries to get close to them,
Or, you know, the girls that are doing
or
that.
yeah, girls do that too. And every time people try to express emotionality or do anything, they're just completely closed off and they're gone. Like that's it. Like, you know, absolutely no willingness to move forward, like, and try and look at yourself, you know, and say like, hey, like, there's shit in here that ain't right.
Yeah.
And
Jordan's right. It is more common in men. You guys are taught from a very young age to let you. It's like beaten out of some of you. Like any other emotion besides like anger. Really, anger is what's okay for men to express.
Which is fucking obnoxious because I have zero access to anger. It's the one emotion that like completely eludes me. But I was raised by 4 women, so that might be exactly why I don't have access to anger.
I do know, I recognize in you sometimes that you have outbursts of anger. You have like, yours is very not accessible, but it will like come out in these like 2-hour moments where you're like, yeah, fuck this thing and fuck this thing and fuck this thing and fuck this thing. And then it just recedes back. And then you just go back.
Yeah.
Like you have these little bursts of them that you can get. I do notice that.
It's good that you can be aware for me in those spaces, but you're absolutely right. And alternatively, instead of expressing, like I've been, this actually is a good tie-in because I've so overexpressed my emotions in my life, which has always been like encouraged in my circle, which is why I have such a limited perspective and why I appreciate you being here to tell me that I'm wrong. But it's like, because I've been so emotion like filled my entire life, and everybody can attest to that. Like, it's like if I have negative emotions, you saw it earlier today. I hit a sort of wall and I just stopped. I stopped talking, stopped communicating to people. If people called me, I'd just like sit there on the phone and listen to them. Yeah. And it's like, I don't trust myself when my emotions are negative, and I don't want to give that to anybody else unless I see there's some sort of purpose in it. So I'll just, it's really obnoxious actually, because I can run it like 100%, and then something arbitrary will happen, and then suddenly I'm like, I just shut down. It's like I can still go through the motions, but everybody can sense it when I just like shut down. And I'm just going through the motions and doing the things I'm supposed to, but suddenly I just don't want to live anymore. It's a really bizarre sort of like, but because normally I think I'm pretty happy-go-lucky and I can even like help other people with their stuff. But as soon as it's my stuff, I get lost in that sauce.
Because your stuff is harder to deal with than other people's stuff.
And are you speaking some truth from your center?
And the hard thing, that like one of the hard lessons that I've learned definitely is projecting your own things onto other people's things.
Oh yeah.
Like I noticed
every time I fucking insult or like get angry at someone, I'm like, you're doing this. It's like 5 minutes later, I'm like, fuck. I can only see that in you because I'm doing that right now. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's one of the hardest ones. That's one of the hardest ones, especially when you're in a lot of emotional pain. Like it's like not like recognizing your potential to project those things onto other people and like building narratives in your head like for them, and it's so hard not to do that.
It's so hard.
It's so hard not to do that. It's like fuck. But unless you just have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to look at it.
We talk about consciousness like all the time, and it sounds like kind of woo woo when you're like not in it, but it's literally like the consciousness of being aware of
just
yourself and the situations that you are constantly in. It's not some like crazy woo woo thing. It's like, I'm angry at someone, so I insult them. And then consciousness and the raising of consciousness is your perspective 5 minutes later being like, you know what, actually, I'm really sorry for saying that because I realized instead, like that wasn't you. That's not a reflection of you. That's a reflection of the parts of you that I am unhappy with in myself. So I decided I needed to assault you verbally or emotionally so that I can feel better about this part that I hate in myself. But really, you're doing me a fucking favor, because this part of you that I'm not fond of is actually a part of myself that I need to learn to accept. And it's like, you could bust out the crystals and do all this shit, but really when it comes down to it, it's like, you just gotta pay attention to yourself and all of the bad emotions that you generate.
Freaking hard, though.
Absolutely.
It's freaking hard, though, especially when you feel like you have a lot of stuff, like a lot of like emotional turmoil and a lot of stuff on the line. When you feel like really important things are happening, all of the awareness just shoots down to like nearly zero. And unless you have been a freaking monk, like it's so hard to it's so hard to control and regulate that when you feel like you know,
when you've got connection to the dark side.
Yeah,
I disagree that you have to be a monk for that. I will say, well, I know you're just saying like a figure of speech, but I will say that I'm very good at that.
Yeah.
Honestly, because of being, this is go on the internet. God damn it.
Yeah, it's okay. We can always edit things if you really don't want them in there. So feel free to talk and we can bleep things.
A certain person in my life who is a prominent figure in my life is a narcissist. So I had to, fuck it, whatever. My mother is a narcissist, and like I had to grow up and learn how to, like, I didn't want to be like her, and for a while I was, and so like I wouldn't. Everybody else, I was always the victim. I was never wrong. I couldn't look in the mirror, but like I have extreme empathy for narcissists, believe it or not, now because looking in the mirror and actually like seeing something that you don't like about yourself, that like you have to change and you've been hurting people, is so painful. It is excruciating. I
kind of feel like that's like a part of what my switch was, because I don't think that I'm like really a narcissist.
Well, everybody has like narcissism.
Yeah, everyone has
it's a spectrum.
Traits.
It's probably a spectrum, but
Absolutely.
I definitely feel like in the mundanity of my day-to-day life and the people that I interact with, I tend to really pull back and just only be focused on how I'm.
Sorry.
Thanks for distracting from a really fucking important.
I'm sorry.
You Please goddamn continue. Child. You goddamn child.
I'm not encouraging it by laughing.
What was I saying?
Narcissist.
Oh, yeah. I was like very worried that I was a narcissist, but then I was told, like, don't worry. If you think you're a narcissist, you're probably not a narcissist.
That's what my therapist told me.
Yeah. It's like you're probably not, because they don't question themselves.
Yeah, and that because I strive so hard to not be like that because of how much pain it caused me and my inner child. And I know if I were to do like the work you guys have done, like the Teal Swan completion process, I'm gonna find a lot of wounds caused by that. And so I worked very hard to be like almost too self-aware, like to the point where like I think I put stuff on myself that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I would rather be that than cause
other people that much pain.
The pain that
And it's very, I mean, everyone is, that happens to everyone. Everyone manipulates each other. Everyone is, like emotionally.
Well, what is manipulation?
Conversation is manipulation when you really get
everything
down to
everything is manipulation.
It's another spectrum.
Manipulation is just a roundabout way to get your needs met because you don't know how to do it straightforward.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a spicy definition. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's everyone does it to a degree. I think the super dangerous people are the people who do it intentionally.
Yes.
The ones that are like, I'm just trying to get a result from you, so I'm gonna, say these specific things. But everyone does it to each other unintentionally. It's like, because we all have needs and we all have things that we, want met from other people, so we all manipulate each other to some degree. But yeah, that's it. That like recognizing in yourself your ability to be that type of person is hard, and I can only imagine like someone who is like very high up on the narcissist spectrum, like if they like did a really high dose of psychedelics or something and they had to deal with like recognizing how many people they've hurt throughout their life, it would be really hard.
Yeah, I don't think that person would be the same creature. Yeah, have the same opportunity to be that person anymore.
It might break them though.
Yeah.
That's the hard problem. That's the hard problem, man. Even just even just recently for me, like recognizing my own shit, like almost broke me. That shit almost broke me, because I was like, oh no, this is, like these things, they're my fault. Like I did all of this shit to myself. What kind of person am I? And I'm not like I'm an average person. Like I don't feel like I'm not a crazy alcoholic that goes out and beats people and does crazy stuff. I try really hard to be good.
I think that's part of our problem, is we're always trying just to be like good. I think it's like a curious thing that button. So I think we all had a parent that, so typical thing is like the child is supposed to be able to look up to their parents and be like, I want to be like this one in this way and this one in this way, and they take the best traits. Mm-hmm. And what we've had to do is we've had one or both be so polarized in a certain way that instead of being like, I want to be like that, we have to look at it and be like, I have to be exactly different. I can't be anything like that, which is such a like reverse polarity on something. Because
you're supposed to look up to your parents.
Yeah, instead of being like a strong, independent, like concise and like look at all the good traits and that sort of thing, I avoided all of the bad traits and somehow became like an amalgamation monster, like devoid of like the things that I rejected were all there for me to take, but because I was like, this is bad, I rejected all of it, and because of that, I've left myself without like tools, you know. And I feel like that's probably the situation for a lot of people who had tumultuous upbringings in one way or another.
Yeah, and that's like the point that I'm at. I'm trying really hard to get back in touch with my masculinity, because I've been told for so long that it's bad, that I can't be a masculine person, that I can't be a powerful person. I have to kind of sink back and like let other people take control. You know?
Same.
Like I have to let what do you want to do? Like I'm just gonna go with whatever you want to do. Like I can't, but I'm trying to take that control back. Is
there such thing as toxic masculinity?
Yes.
Is that why you've been pushed back?
No, I don't think that's why I've been pushed back. I think it's more so because that wasn't really a thing when we were growing up. Was it?
I was very aware of the toxic masculinity thing because the women in my life were all talking about men and how they acted in certain ways. And, being a little kid and all polite and stuff, everybody was always like being like, oh, you're so good, you're so polite, you're so sweet and all that stuff. And because the toxic masculinity was so rampant, the women who were raising young men ended up turning our masculinity down to make sure that things weren't going to happen that way. But I mean, if you only have like one part of the divine like adjusting what you should be, you end up being like kind of like me, a little bit of a girly man. Like you sing and I dance and I like the idea of fighting, but I've never actually fought, and I've always been able to find my way in peaceful situations. And it's like I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I need to get punched in the face and like get angry, but I have no paths that lead to that for me.
I can punch you in the face.
I see. Well, that's very sweet. I don't know if I want that. I want a situational punch in the face that makes me feel masculine, because I'm so insecure that I need a situation to make me feel better.
All right.
Just offering my services.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the moral of the story is...
maybe it's a kink of mine. I don't know. We should try it out sometime.
All right. Let's do that.
Oh, God. But yeah, that's... I think moral of the story is we're all fucked up.
Super.
And we're all fucking awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
And you guys are really putting in some really good work.
Yeah.
Both of you.
Well, thank you.
I said the greatest pain brings the greatest change. Like I
as long as you work with it, unless you're resistant to it.
No, I'm not resistant to anything. Like right now, I'm like right now it's all 100% like going for the things that I always said. Listening to Abraham Hicks more, I kind of hit a point where I was like, I have not been living in line with my own values for a very long time. When we were younger, like when we were going on backpacking trips and I was in sports and like actually doing stuff, I was much more in line with my values, and I was much more like yes, this is the direction that I'm going. I feel good about myself. Like look at this awesome shit that I've been doing. And probably after, I don't remember what point it was, but it was like years back. I don't know exactly what happened, but something turned that off in me. You know, something turned it off where I stopped living in line with my values. If I remember correctly, it might have actually been when my grandpa on my dad's side died. Like that's when I started really getting heavily into like video games and like video game addiction and just really like pulling away.
Do you have one of those, Nora? Like one of those defining moments where you can look at it and be like, that's when I started doing these things that weren't in my greatest good. Can you narrow it down?
There's multiple. The first one I can say is I was 6 months old.
Zoinks, dude.
Yeah. Because I've had 6 surgeries on my head. For craniosynostosis, for those who know what that is. None of you? All right, let me explain.
Yeah.
So when you're a baby, your platelets in your head are not fused together yet. Mm-hmm. Because your brain is constantly like fucking expanding. For me, they weren't, so I almost died. So that's why they had to keep going in and keep doing these very invasive surgeries. I have 2 scars, like a headband that go from ear to ear from these. It started then because I have vivid memories from every surgery, including 6 months old.
That's fucking wild.
And so why this would matter is because I feel like I'm a burden for existing because I cause pain just for existing because I put my parents through so much. Like I'm a mom now, and trying to imagine my son having to go through that makes me like want to vomit literally everywhere and I can't.
Yeah.
It freaks me the fuck out. Like I can't imagine being a parent and having to witness your child and be powerless, and just knowing that they were so powerless, so helpless, and I was in so much pain. So like that is a big defining moment for me and a root of like how I exist today, that me just being alive causes people pain and I'm a burden.
Yeah. That's
okay. First off, that's not true. You bring a lot of love and light into this world, and you are not a burden.
Well, thank you. I wish I felt that way.
I wish so too, because it's very clearly true.
Oh.
Yeah. Everybody just needs a little bit of love and help, yo.
Man, Jordan Peterson, I bring up my teachers all the time, but there's one interview that he did where he broke down crying, and he was like, honestly, you'd be surprised just how little encouragement people actually need. Like,
it's fucking true.
Like from people that care about you and that are close. If someone's going through a hard time, rather than like criticisms or like why aren't you doing this, or like these things, blah blah blah, problem solving. Yeah,
which I do all the time.
I know.
Sorry, world.
I know. I do it all the time too. I'm sorry, world. I'm very sorry. I'm so bad at that. But it literally takes such little encouragement to get people to like believe in themselves again. Like like somebody who's struggling with hard things or depression or like anything. For people that you're close to, it takes such little hey, like I do believe in you. I know that you can do this, and explain to them why you believe that they can accomplish something. It takes so little.
I feel like this is a societal thing too, because you're talking about people being really close in order to offer that. But think about someone about to jump off a bridge, and then someone comes over, they put their hand on their shoulder, and they say, "Please don't.
Yeah,
please don't. I want you to live."
Yeah.
Like that's. For a lot of situations,
that's all it
that
takes.
Human connection, just someone expressing like, yo, I fucking care, is so much. And I think it's been, conspiracy brain, but I think our society has somewhat been twisted into this if it's non-deliberate, like, that's some crazy circumstance, and maybe it rolled out that way, because it seems like it's some evil plan, because humans are constantly connected. We came from tribes. We were supposed to be in like tribes of 100 people, constantly interacting, having all of that connection.
Yeah.
And then we go to this world where the only connection we really get in like substance is virtual.
Yeah.
And while it sort of taps the right place in the brain and heart, it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
If you have someone sitting there and telling you like, you're good, you're okay, this is going to get better, I promise. Like, it matters so much more in the moment.
Yes, it does. Because
even if the person doesn't believe you.
Absolutely, because I don't, but it still feels good. Like I put a smile on my face because I can get validation from the internet through like hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And like it means something. Like
when you don't have anything, it counts for something.
It does count for something. So like for those of you who are going to watch this that are from my side of the world, hello. But I appreciate you. Thank you for following me on my many journeys. And I do value every single one of you. But having something like face to face and like people like looking you in the eyeball and saying like you matter and you are worth something is like astronomically more.
It like shakes the core of you when you hear it, and you don't realize you need these things until someone gives it to you and you're like, oh my God, you made my insides go to jelly and now I want to cry.
And another part of the whole thing is like what you were talking about earlier about like people were meant to, you know, live in tribes and in communities and have communities of people, like, and our society has become such, we're more networked now rather than we are community based.
Yeah.
And like we start to depend on the people that are close to us in our lives, especially significant others and stuff, like way
too much
than ever before.
Yeah, and this goes into the Dr. Esther Perel stuff that she talks about. Now we need our lovers to be our best friend, a wild lover in the bedroom, our big romance partner, our therapist, our work colleague, our partner in raising children, our sole source of like real connection,
our adventure partner, and then also our security and safety.
And then we turn around and we're like, oh, why doesn't my relationship cover all my needs? And it's like, bitch, you've been applying all of your needs to one person. That's a fucking company job. You need some backup.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we all need backup. We all definitely need backup. And that's another thing that, you know, like I hadn't developed properly in my, you know, like pulled in state. Like I really like I said, after I got out of line with living in my values, like my values are friends, family, you know, like not necessarily career, but passions, hobbies, like things that I really care about. Mm-hmm. Like I fell so far out of line with that and have been so afraid of failing that I stopped building those parts of my life. And once you can, like, if things happen that bring you to those realizations and you can start doing the psychological work, you can start to rebuild those things, and you'd be surprised like how quickly you can build those things. These cats are going crazy over here. Like literally they're both just like moving in and out, knocking the cameras.
I love it. I love my little kitty monsters.
Yeah.
They're agents of chaos and I am their king.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a big part of the direction that I'm going in now, is like I need to start living in line with my actual values, because I haven't been. Like I've been rejecting myself and making excuses for myself and like staying in this closed off space, this closed bubble of like, yeah, the world attacks me and things are terrible and this is really bad, and like I just gave my power away. I just completely gave it away. And it's getting back into the zone where I'm like, you know, I can do this shit. You know, I really can create something. I can do something bigger than what I've been. You know, I can be better. That is a very empowering dynamic. It sucks that it takes, you know, suffering and pain to get there. But when you do get there, it feels good, and it's direction.
I feel like I tell you this every day, but I'm like so proud of you. I like shit a brick when you even reached out to me in the first place and you actually came over to my house. Like Oh, it's only been years.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
be proud of Jordan because
Yeah,
Mr.
proud.
Hermit is now trying
Hey,
to be
I played
less.
with your kid and I was intimate. I hugged him.
Yeah.
Which is a huge fucking deal because I have
hugged him.
trouble. I still have to go in with like the side shoulder hug and like I'm hugging him and he's just like,
Yeah. No, I was like, you know what? No, like, 'cause I've been so terrified of intimacy and stuff. And I'm like, I'm actively working on like trying to be more physically intimate with the people that I care about. Like literally, like after you were having a hard day, I came over and like actually,
did. Yeah.
I actually like hugged you and I
like,
was like, you're all right, man.
had a little switch flip and
Yeah.
I just started like crying about some shit. And
Yeah.
he actually came over. He sat right next to me and he hugged me as I was crying. And I was like, this is a new Jordan. The day has come.
So proud.
Yeah, I'm trying so hard, man. I'm trying hard because I really do. I believe in growth. You know, like I know that people can be better, and
Absolutely. Every single person on
Everyone.
this planet can be better.
I want, okay, this might be selfish because I think it would elicit a really good podcast, but I want you to go through that completion process with one of the people because I feel like the stories you would tell coming out of it would be just fucking epic.
yeah,
Maybe I should.
I mean, the best stories always have the darkest nemesises and most intense journeys, most dangerous. And it's like, I bet we got like a Lord of the Rings novel in you or some shit. And that's
Yeah.
my favorite. So,
Lord of the Rings is my
Well, hey,
favorite.
oh my
what?
God. Yeah, we're friends now.
Once I
Best friends.
You want to go to karate in the garage?
Yes.
I can send you the link to where they do it. They do a free 30-minute like preliminary session just to kind of see where you are and what you're looking for.
Yeah, and there's lots of different agents, but the one we used was
She's great.
She was great.
Suzanne is awesome.
But you might need different energy.
Yeah.
We both needed like
I need the,
wizened
I have a very
crone energy.
I have a
You might
very
need something
big
different.
problem with feminine energy. That's why like it's really amazing to me like how like both my mom and grandma died like so quickly. I'm like those were the two primary like feminine figures in my life, and that's always been where a majority of my kind of problems have stemmed from is the feminine side.
Which is so obnoxious to me because
Because
I'm like I got feminine for days.
because
I
I-
got no masculine.
Yeah, I was never like. I was always really given the strict father, you know, like you do these things military style, like on time. My dad was always a little more forgiving with things, but he definitely was like, "Hey, you're not doing this right. Like, do this right." So I have the masculine aspect. I feel like
That's
is
probably why I love your dad so
yeah.
much.
My masculine aspect is pretty in line. It's my feminine aspect that is really fucked up. Like I have very big problems with like I guess needing to be cared for in a way that I don't think I was ever really cared for properly, you know, and I think after losing my mom and my grandma, like I almost feel like I'm in this cycle right now of like healing some generational trauma, like after my mom and grandma passed, because they were a really big triggering factor in my life for me. And with them being gone now, like I almost feel like I'm able to integrate some of that, you know, and I'm able to be like, you know what, like I see the despair and the things that they weren't able to do for me, you know, in a divine feminine way. You know, they were devouring mothers in a way, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like they not even it was they relied on me almost more to be their masculine figure. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes, I've seen that a lot.
Yeah, and it fucked me up.
Yeah, it does.
It fucked me up really bad. But man, I gotta say, therapy is a fucking godsend. Anybody who can do any kind of therapy where other people are like emotionally coaching you through processes. I don't know why I didn't do this shit like 10 years ago.
Might be related to the male stigma of we're not allowed to go into those spaces and do that kind of stuff. Just got to be stoic.
Yeah.
God, for so many years I was trying to be so stoic. That was my whole military thing. Mm-hmm. It's so obnoxious because you guys have like notable trauma things where you like turned away from like yourself and your like alignment and everything. And mine was being offered to go to fucking Milan to be like, I don't know, something. And instead I was like, I think I need to pursue this meaningless and fretless pursuit of masculinity. So I'm going to go and be an officer and do ranger training and be an infantryman. And it didn't fucking work.
I was going to say, I can't even imagine that. You like that.
No, I wasn't even like me then. Yeah. It was like, it was
the same thing for me. We both
such a weird fucking thing we did.
We both parallel each other on that military thing.
Yeah, because we've got weirdly similar but different parallel lines. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's life is crazy, and in dealing with the tumultuous, crazy times that it has been, these years. I'm sure everybody has their own shit. Like you've gone through some insane.
Yeah, the insanity that your life embodies is my theory is that we are not given things that we are incapable of handling. So I just kind of look at you and I'm like, wow, you must be one tough veteran motherfucking spirit, yo, because like to get dropped into your life and then to just like be moving through it and look at you still here.
Yeah, barely, but yeah.
I mean, I think you're doing pretty okay.
I had a lot of close calls. I've been a very suicidal person for a lot of times recently. Like I have scars all over my body because I'm not perfect. I've gone through hell, trauma, so much trauma, and like just what we were talking about before the podcast, like that is just one tiny sliver of everything I've been through. Like I don't even know if this completion process people would have like the time to go through everything with me.
It depends on how much money you have.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, well, I just need to drop 10 grand into my lap and maybe I can get some help, but. At least I'm in therapy. I don't know. Yeah. But I'm over medicated right now. I'll say that.
Yeah.
From going inpatient, they medicated the ever living dick out of me.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna have to work on coming off all that shit again, including benzos, which you know about that process.
I'm familiar with that process.
Fucking doctors with their benzos. God damn it. Give people some fucking weed. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh, you need to relax. Okay. Well, guess what? You can smoke a fucking plant from the dirt and get that effect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes it's not enough, But yeah, people, we are incredibly, incredibly strong and resilient people. Yes. And, but at the same time, it's like, depending on your perspective, I guess it's like we're either resilient or fragile.
We're both because we live in duality.
She beat me to it.
Yeah.
I don't need to be here anymore. Nora can take over. Sure. She's got this.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. We are both things. But that's I guess lessons you learn as you live, and the older I get, and the more I start seeing myself. And hey, yeah, that's not a.
I'm sorry, guys. My cat wanted to see what was up, and now he's chewing on the microphone.
Yeah, he's doing it again.
Yeah, I little stinker.
You keep ruining the show, Grant, with your distractions.
I think I'm adding to it. Everything needs a little comic relief.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, this is pretty heavy.
No, only serious. Nothing but serious.
Heavy, serious.
No duality.
Okay, I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. Sometimes it's really hard for me to let go. Like I'm a very like directed, like my intellectuality is a curse on me. Because it's very hard for me just to like let go and just have fun sometimes. Like if I can get that figured out.
It's like Jordan's walking the path and I just threw myself off the cliff. I'm like, whoa.
Hey. I do know how to have fun. At least I used to, and now I'm trying to relearn to get back to that zone.
That's true. So. You did kind of forget how to have fun.
I used to do awesome shit.
Yeah, he used to be the one before even your time. He used to be the one that would just randomly show up at my house on a skateboard and be like, "Hey, what are we doing?" I'd be like, "Yeah, what the fuck are you doing here?" I guess we're doing something. Okay.
Then I got traumatized, man. I'm sorry.
It's all right, man.
It's all right. I can come back.
Traumatized.
I can come back.
We can all come back from anywhere that we have been, and we can always be the better version of us as long as we're continually trying.
Yeah, and You will make hella mistakes along the way, that's for sure. But it doesn't mean stop trying.
I feel like I want to hear you talk about a whole lot of stuff.
Like what?
I don't know. I'm so like low key concerned because I don't want to like upset you. But your journey seems like there's so many things. I just feel like there's so much information encoded in your experience, and I don't know how to access it.
There is a lot. Jordan knows a good,
a
good chunk. A good chunk.
A good chunk.
Yeah.
He's explained a bit.
We went through a pretty solid amount of shit together.
Oh yeah, that too. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Me and Jordan have had our ups and
downs.
Oh, those downs. They involved the police.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You don't know that story?
The police? No, those stories are always fun.
You don't know.
Did anybody get arrested? What happened?
No.
Once upon a time, we were outside the Salty Toad.
Outside the Salty Toad. This sounds like a great
I
setting.
wasn't even drunk, but we got the cops called on us because we were fighting very loud.
They were screaming at each other.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it kept going. And when the cops came, I'm feisty and I don't give a fuck if you're a cop. So guess who kept screaming?
She hadn't made her point yet.
Even as I was like, because I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm the problem. I'll just leave. So I was walking away, but I kept turning around and being like, fuck you, Jordan. You're blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that was a good time. But that wasn't even what I was referring to.
Yeah. Hey, we all have our traits, you know?
I was talking more about like the cult stuff I was involved in.
Oh, yeah.
Cult stuff.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a cult story?
I almost got married.
Ooh.
I was engaged.
Okay, all right. So from the top, where did this cult come from?
A church.
That's not that surprising.
I don't know what you were looking for there.
Like a dark forest shaman coming out of like a hole in the ground and being like, I am part of the mole people. Come, we will find you a proper husband and we will raise strong mole people children.
No, I've told the story before on a previous podcast on a different channel,
New
I'll do it quickly though.
Okay.
So I went to go to this church. There's this thing called the Encounter. And my boyfriend came back and he was like completely all Jesus out. So I was like, I'm going to go to it now. The girl won to expose it for brainwashing. And I got brainwashed.
Damn.
For real. Yeah. And it only got worse because I was only kind of brainwashed. I mean, they had me believing I had demons in me and they were like exorcising them out of me and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because they took away all my medication and I was actually having withdrawals. But so I thought they were demons. So that's what convinced me that like it was all real. As I'm like sitting there convulsing and stuff. And they're like, they're naming off demons. And they even said legion at one point, which if you know the Bible, legion for we are many. Yeah. So they like thought I had legion in me and, Jezebel, the whore demon, you know, just your typical demons and all that shit. Anyway, making it quicker. So I got out of it, and then after that, I had a miscarriage at some point, and that's when they really pulled me in, and that's when they got me, and they used me as like a stepping stone to get other girls in there and like pull people in, and they used my story a lot and pulled me in, and then all of a sudden I was engaged, and then I had to run away because what broke me up.
How did you end up getting engaged? Is my mic on? Mm-hmm. Okay. How did you end up getting engaged in that situation?
They kind of hooked me up with a guy, like
really, a
single guy.
They just walked a guy in and they were like, "Here's your marriage."
Well, they like walked a guy in and like pushed us kind of together and whatever. I was 18 at the time. He was like 26, 27. I don't know. He was older than me by a decent amount. So they just pushed us together and like they were like, "You guys are, you know, God wants you guys to be together." So like I'm like, all right, I guess. But, so I was engaged. And so what got me out of it, though, was one sermon about, they were talking about gay people. And I'm like, and no matter how much brainwashing they did, I just couldn't get in my head that being gay was wrong.
Right. I mean,
so like that. So like that like kind of undid it. So then I talked to my cousin after that and she was like, you need to get out of there. And I like ran away to Milwaukee. And it's good I ran away because they all showed up at my house looking for me and drove around Waukesha looking for me.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yes. So that's my shortened cult story.
Jesus Christ.
Should have heard of marriage counseling, because you have to do pre-marriage counseling, and they tell you like how to have sex like godly and stuff. And the guy was a real creep, and he was just like all into me the whole time, just staring at me, telling me how to have sex. I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah, that's well from my education. How does one have godly sex? Can you educate me on such things?
Missionary.
God's only okay with missionary position.
That's it.
I get it.
Basically.
That makes a lot of sense.
Like they were like discourage anything really. Even
Anything fun?
Anything fun, really. Yeah. Just like straight up missionary, looking each other in the eyes. Little thrusting.
Okay. I mean,
I don't know about that.
If you can get the job done, I suppose, but I guess it's like eating white bread for every single meal.
Yeah, every single meal though.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it, man.
Sex is only for procreation.
Damn.
Well, and you have to remember that God is watching you while you do it. So like,
Well, okay. This is I'm not going to defend the cult. But I'm going to devil's advocate a little bit here.
You're going to devil's advocate the cult?
No, the sex thing and the godly sex and whatever and all that. Esther Perel was talking about this actually, about how our relationship to sex has changed so much that we're not exactly sure how it is affecting us interpersonally.
Yeah, that's true. If you're not familiar with Esther Perel, I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She's like a well-credentialed like marriage
relationship counselor who deals with
kind of far away from the typical folks we listen to who are very shanty
deals
spiritual.
with like cheating and ends of relationships and all that kind of shit. She's awesome.
Yeah,
she's
but
awesome.
her whole point was like way back when sex was about like it had reasons. You got married for reasons. It wasn't for it. And then in recent decades, in the last like century or so, love has come into the mix about marriage and sex, and so it's changed the whole dynamic into something that humans haven't been dealing with for like thousands of years since agriculture was like discovered and like
I don't know. It's now it's to the point where kind of like birth control and stuff has highly impacted how we relate to each other sexually, because there's no repercussion for sex anymore. Like rarely. There's a much lower chance of repercussion for sex. So being able to like re-identifying sex and relationships and romanticism as the goal in relationships is new. Is like brand new, because marriage and relationships and that kind of stuff used to be more of a like an industrial, like we're doing this so like these are my kids, that my money's going to go to these kids, and when I sleep with my partner, it's to have kids.
In some cultures,
it's to have sex with them. Most cultures have been like that. Most cultures.
There's always outliers.
Oh, there's
which ones are you talking about? Curious.
Native Americans.
Yeah, their culture was definitely different, but it was still in the idea of procreation because there was no contraception.
We're also talking about like Native Americans had what, like 36 different nations or something like that were acknowledged. So it's kind of hard to be like Native Americans when like each society, depending upon their ability to feed their people, their like habits, because you're right, there were definitely Native American societies that viewed it in more of like a sharing tribalism kind of stuff, where it wasn't that important. This kid appeared and I could be the father, he could be the father, they could be the father. It doesn't matter. We're one tribe.
Yeah, but that's how it was handled a lot. If you read Sex at Dawn, that's how it was handled a lot. Who wrote that? Ryan?
I can't remember.
Ryan something. The book Sex at Dawn. But that was he talks about how most Native American tribes, like everybody had sex with each other. They didn't care about whose kids were whose kids. If someone got pregnant, they all just took care of the kids. And that's how it was most of the time.
Yeah, it's a dream.
But as soon as we
right? How easy would it fucking be if like there wasn't any of this jealousy stuff, and instead it was like, oh yeah, no, like let's say you have a friend group of 10 people and some people fuck, and then suddenly it's like, oh, this person's pregnant. Well,
let's all jump in and take care of the child.
And it's like you don't have to worry about childcare. You don't have to worry about like being able to feed that child because everybody's going to be pulling in. You don't have to worry about like all of the problems that we have with society raising a child go away if you suddenly have just like a tiny tribe.
Yes, a tribe. I would love that as another.
Yeah. The last time I tried the whole tribe thing, I got accused of forming a cult in Colorado. My grandma thought I might be a cult leader, and I had to like go and convince her, and it really didn't work because people say they want to be part of a tribe, but when it really comes down to being part of a tribe, there's a whole lot of taking and not a lot of giving. And if you're one of the givers,
it's fucking
you get caught up, and then you go into that whole blame cycle.
See,
of
that's
like, why
problem.
aren't you doing the thing? And it's like everybody has to be so far in it that there isn't any of that.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Which is not possible for my group.
That was, like going through that was a lot of, when I went through my open relationship stuff, and I know you did too. And I know that you're still like kind of in that zone and interested in those ideas. I still think that they're super useful, but it's not the direction that I want to go, just because of we live in this Western society now, and I'm looking more for that sacred connection with one individual person, where it's like here, like we're gonna do this together and build a life and do all of that. And I'm more interested in going in that. I know Aubrey Marcus kind of transitioned as well from being in the open world to more, marriage based.
You really have to cultivate your tribe then.
Yeah.
So as we discussed before, getting all your needs met, you can't do that with one person.
Yes, exactly. You need to have the friends, you need to have the community, you need to be able to. It's always about people. Mm-hmm. It's always about people, and that's the one thing that's going to stick through no matter what happens, is like keeping your relationships healthy, and working on them, and that's always going to be a consistent factor no matter what type of relationship you go into. So yeah,
I think we should do a series. I think we should do a couple more with this one, because I have lots of questions, and we're already well past an hour.
Yeah, hour 10.
Which is normally where we're cutting things off. But I got questions because I want to hear your perspective on all of the things that might make you a saucy lady. Because I think that'll be fun. Because I feel like you might feel safe enough to share those kind of things and feel like we're not going to attack you about them.
Oh, attack me, bring it on.
Okay, never mind. Don't gotta worry about attacking her, because she'll fuck me up. She's gonna punch me in the face for the next podcast. Just let us get on topic, and it'll happen.
Yeah,
we'll find something.
Right. But yeah, fuck. Hey, it's look at that 111 hour and 11 minutes. That's where we got to go. That's where That's where we cut it. It was fantastic. Everything was smooth. I might have talked too much. I don't know.
I think you needed to talk a whole lot. And that's why I want to have her back on, because I want to get her on a roll where she's like foaming at the mouth, because I think that would just be good YouTube television.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like we'll get a lot of tunage from that.
Right. Anyway, it was fantastic. It was fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, tuning in. We will be back again with much more. Gonna keep rocking and rolling doing this shit. We will see you guys in the next video.
Bye-bye!
Bye-bye.
Bye.